Lady Jane Seymour can easily be overlooked as simply one of the 6 wives Henry VIII had over the course of his rule and search for a male heir. However, overlook Jane at your own peril, because her story is most intriguing. She was the third of King Henry's wives, but she has often been regarded as the one most cared for and beloved by the king. Jane was born into a rather wealthy family as well as nobility around 1508. Her parents were Marjorie Wentworth and Sir John Seymour. In the early 1500s, it was not very proper for women to receive formal education, as well as any education like that of men at the time. Although Jane did not enter the world without any educational background, unfortunately it was the common schooling women were allowed. These skills were ones of courtly etiquette and household management. Lady Jane was first introduced to the king and the palace itself, serving as a lady-in-waiting to Henry's first wife, Catherine of Aragon. However, Henry and Catherine would later finalize their divorce in the year 1533. This was due to Catherine being unable to produce a healthy male heir. After the divorce, King Henry VIII would marry Anne Boleyn, to whom Lady Jane would also serve as a lady-in-waiting. But due to rumors of scandal involving incest and adultery, Anne Boleyn would be executed on May 19th, 1536. This came only but a day before King Henry VIII would propose to Lady Jane Seymour. It is assumed that Henry noticed Jane sometimes while she served her predecessors. Yes, Jane received a proposal for marriage from the king a day after his second wife was beheaded. He proposed by giving her a small ornate locket that, when opened, revealed a tiny portrait of Henry. Jane's personality was said to be quite different from Anne, so much so that they were polar opposites. While Anne was known for having great ambition and an aggressive character, Jane was known for her kindness, gentleness, and devout Catholic beliefs. Jane would marry Henry in 1536, and only reign as queen for a short period of 1 year and 4 months. Yet, in this time, Jane accomplished much, including mending fences, so to speak. Using her kind and gentle influence, Jane was able to persuade Henry to place his daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, back into the line for the throne. Henry may originally have held some disdain for the girls because of their mothers. Jane lived as a devoted Catholic and gentle queen. She stood by Henry even as he was separated from the church due to his divorce of Catherine. It is suggested, however, she was in agreement of the Catholic Pilgrimage of Grace Rebellion, which protested the king leaving the church. Jane most likely remained silent on the topic of her sympathy for the movement due to the fate of the first 2 queens, or care for her husband. This was not, however, Lady Jane Seymour's greatest accomplishment as queen. At least it probably was not to Henry. No, her greatest feat was producing the male heir Henry desperately desired. Edward was born in 1537. But the joy of his birth and Jane's success would be short-lived. Jane became sick due to complications of her pregnancy and delivery, and who would later die only 12 days after the boy's birth. Jane is still regarded as his most beloved wife, and this echoes in the treatment of her after she passed. Jane is the only queen of the 6 to actually have a queen's funeral, and she is who he is now buried next to, per his request.